Hello, this is Dave at CarTitles.com. We're going to talk about how to get a car title when one does not exist, or has been lost, or has not been passed through from the owners. One of the methods that we've seen out there, one that we don't use ourselves, is where a vehicle title or a vehicle that you own is actually signed over ownership to the vendor who's getting you your title. And what they would propose to do is do something to get a title in their name and then sign it back over to you. The problem with that is, first of all, during the time that this is processed, your vehicle is legally owned by that third party. You do not own the vehicle anymore. And during that period of time, what happens is anything that could put that ownership at risk could result in you losing the vehicle. For example, if that vehicle title processor gets sued, if they file bankruptcy, if they make an error on the paperwork, even if there's internal fraud in that company, your title could be at risk and you could lose the vehicle. Look, if they get sued and have a judgment against them, the first thing that judgment creditor is going to do is look at all the assets of that company. And at that time, the assets of that company will include your car because legally they own it. So if they seize all those assets, your car could be one of those assets because legally you'll sign papers signing ownership of that car over to them. And you have to cross your fingers during that time to hope that they process the title correctly and it gets back to you. If there's any errors or invalid statements or defects on the paperwork they sent to the DMV is going to kick it back, and the person who runs that company will legally own your car until it's corrected. And that if it can't be corrected, they're going to still own your car because you signed it over to them. If there are any liens or invalid title requests, it may result in the car being seized by a creditor or by the DMV itself if misrepresentations are made on the paperwork. There's some big cases out there right now for mechanics lien scams that we've talked about in other videos, where a processor has used incorrect or improper methods to get a title and they've lost vehicles that were owned by other people. There's another factor that comes into play. In most states, if a company buys and sells more than a certain number of cars every year, let's say 5 or 6, they automatically have to be licensed as a dealer, a licensed car dealership. And if a vehicle title processor is taking all these cars and getting them signed over to them and then signing them back over to you, technically they're supposed to be a dealership. They're supposed to be licensed, and if they're not properly licensed as a dealership, those vehicle titles may be at risk. And if they are licensed at a dealership and are processing titles incorrectly, that dealership is under much more scrutiny, and again, the state can come in and either impose fines or impose judgments, and again, might put those title assets at risk for seizure if that's the case. Statutes in most states may even require actual possession of vehicles to become an owner as a dealership. You can't just sign over a car in another state that a dealership says that they own, it's in their inventory. If it's not in their inventory on their lot, they may not actually be able to be the legal owner. The processing of titles by dealerships or by third parties requires certain representations on the documents, and if those representations are found to be untrue, both the processor can become liable and even the person with the vehicle can become liable for misrepresentations on an official government document. So make sure you understand the internal process that's being used by your vendor getting a car title, and then it matches the real facts of the case so you don't run into a situation later where a title is revoked that's been issued, or even the vehicle becomes seized, because that's not going to help your efforts in taking that car and selling it or registering it or insuring it. So car title recovery is an important issue. You want to make sure it's done right so your title is free and clear and not subject to any claims or liens or encumbrances down the road. Again, our website is cartitles.com or titlerecovery.com. You can call us up with any questions you might have about your specific situation.